these animals have in common is obvious. They're all part of the same family. But a closer inspection reveals that they are also different from one another. The reasons animals in the same family are different, and the reasons that one type of animal is different from another, can be found in a fascinating field of science known as genetics, the study of heredity. All living things resemble their parents, but each individual also has certain unique characteristics or traits. Can you think of some traits that make people different from one another? Traits like eye color, hair color, skin tone, height, and right or left-handedness are just a few of the ways that we're different from one another. Discovering how and why this happens is a fascinating journey, one that was first undertaken by a 19th century monk and teacher named Gregor Mendel. Working in the garden of a small monastery in Austria, Mendel conducted experiments and made observations on pea plants. Mendel observed and experimented on several traits of pea plants, including how tall the plants grew and the color and shape of their seeds. By keeping careful records of his experiments, Mendel was able to piece together the basic laws of heredity. Mendel discovered that each trait he studied was influenced by a pair of factors now called genes. Genes are the basic unit of heredity, and in organisms that reproduce sexually, each parent contributes one gene for each trait to their offspring. In experiments involving the traits of tallness and shortness, he also discovered that one trait is stronger or dominant, and the second is weaker or recessive. A dominant trait is expressed whenever its dominant gene is present, but a recessive trait seems to disappear whenever a dominant gene is present. In other words, dominant genes mask the presence of recessive genes. Recessive traits are expressed only when both genes for a trait are recessive. A few years after Mendel's work was published, a German botanist by the name of Karl Korrens added to Mendel's work on dominance when he discovered incomplete dominance. Working with 4 o'clock flowers, Korrens noticed that in some gene pairs, neither gene is dominant, and the trait expressed by the gene pair appears to be blended, a combination of the two traits. Gregor Mendel presented his findings to a meeting of scientists in 1865. He was very disappointed that his work went unnoticed, mainly because the scientific world was focused on Charles Darwin's Origin of Species. But it was Mendel's identification of dominant and recessive genes that helped to explain and clarify how Darwin's theory of natural selection could bring about change in the species. Mendel is considered the father of genetics, but with a greater understanding of the function of different parts of the cell and new tools for research, many others have followed in his footsteps. Now you are about to embark on the same journey.